Step back into the strange, colorful world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the 2005 fantasy classic that turned candy, mystery, and childhood dreams into something unforgettable. But 21 years later, what happened to the actors who brought Willy Wonka, Charlie Bucket, Veruca Salt, Augustus Gloop, Violet Beauregard, Mike TV, and the rest of this magical story to life? Some continued acting, some changed completely, and a few took surprising paths far away from the Chocolate Factory. From shocking transformations to quiet new lives, this is the cast then and now, and where they are today. Johnny Depp portrayed Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, turning Roald Dahl's candy maker into a pale, wounded showman, hiding loneliness behind perfect smiles. His Wonka is funny, eerie, and unforgettable because every joke seems to cover an old scar. Born John Christopher Depp II on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky, he grew up moving often, found music as a teenager, and entered acting after chasing a rock career. He was 42 when the film reached audiences in 2005. Coming after Pirates of the Caribbean, the role carried the pressure of proving he could still disappear inside a strange character, rather than only repeat a blockbuster image. It also deepened his long bond with Tim Burton, and kept him at the center of fantasy cinema. Later, Depp's career moved through enormous success, public legal battles, and a quieter return through films such as Jean du Barry and Modi, which he directed. In 2026, he is 62, still working as an actor, musician, and filmmaker. Freddie Highmore portrayed Charlie Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, giving the film its quiet, moral heart amid the noise and color. His Charlie is gentle, poor, and hopeful, the child whose decency makes the factory's wonders feel sacred. Born Alfred Thomas Highmore on February 14, 1992, in Camden Town, London, he was raised by talent agent Sue Latimer and actor Edward Highmore, and later studied at Cambridge. He was 13 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role arrived just after Finding Neverland, so he faced the pressure of recognition while still growing up. Instead of leaning only on childhood fame, he protected his education and sharpened his restraint as a performer. Later, Highmore earned a double first in Spanish and Arabic at Emmanuel College, Cambridge, then made the difficult transition to adult roles with Bates Motel and The Good Doctor. In 2026, he is 34, respected not as a former child star, but as an actor who survived that label with discipline. David Kelly portrayed Grandpa Joe in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, bringing warmth, mischief, and aching old hope to Charlie's tiny family. His Grandpa Joe is frail in body, but young in spirit, the guide who makes one golden ticket feel like a miracle. Born David William Kelly on July 11, 1929, in Dublin, Ireland, he trained at the Abbey School of Acting and began performing as a child. He was 76 when the film reached audiences in 2005. For Kelly, the role came near the end of a long career, far from Hollywood glamour, so its challenge was to make a familiar grandfather feel alive for a global audience. It gave younger viewers a doorway into an Irish actor already cherished for Waking Ned, Fawlty Towers, and Strumpet City. That period brought him a Lifetime Achievement honor from the Irish Film and Television Academy, and his last screen years included Stardust in 2007. Kelly died in Dublin on February 12, 2012, at age 82, leaving a career that made small roles feel immortal. Helena Bonham Carter portrayed Mrs. Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, grounding the story with tired tenderness and quiet strength. Her Mrs. Bucket is gentle, poor, and steady enough to make Charlie's goodness believable. Born Helena Bonham Carter on May 26, 1966, in London, England, she came from a prominent British family and entered acting as a teenager. She was 39 when the film reached audiences in 2005. Known for period drama and darker roles, Mrs. Bucket asked her to do something smaller and human. The part sat inside her creative partnership with Tim Burton, leading to Corpse Bride, Sweeney Todd, and Alice in Wonderland. Later, she became Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter, won acclaim for The King's Speech, and drew attention as Princess Margaret in The Crown. She also endured the 2008 loss of relatives in a South African safari accident, a private grief folded into public life. In 2026, she is 59 and remains a distinctive British actress. Noah Taylor portrayed Mr. Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, playing Charlie's father as a quiet man worn down by work, worry, and love. His Mr. Bucket is modest and fragile, making the Bucket home feel honest before the factory turns unreal. Born Noah George Taylor on September 4, 1969, in London, England, he was raised in Australia and began acting young, breaking through in cinema. He was 36 when the film reached audiences in 2005. Surrounded by larger-than-life characters, Taylor's challenge was to make silence matter. The role reinforced his gift for understated presence, the quality that made The Year My Voice Broke and Shine affecting. Later, he built a restless career with Game of Thrones, Peaky Blinders, Preacher, and A Small Light, while also known as an artist. His path never depended on spectacle. It was defined by strange faces, wounded men, and characters who linger quietly. In 2026, he is 56 and remains active in screen work. Missy Pyle portrayed Mrs. Beauregard in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the polished, competitive mother pushing Violet toward victory at any cost. She is memorable because her bright smile makes ambition feel almost more frightening than the factory itself. Born Andrea K. Pyle on November 16, 1972, in Houston, Texas, she was raised partly in Memphis and trained at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. She was 33 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role followed scene-stealing comedy work and asked her to play satire with control instead of noise. It kept her inside Tim Burton's surreal world, while proving a supporting parent could feel sharp, funny, and uneasy. Later, Pyle moved between comedy, drama, and music, appearing in The Artist, Gone Girl, Captain Fantastic, and television roles while performing with Smith and Pyle. In 2026, she is 53, still active as an actress and singer, and still able to turn a small role into a lasting image. James Fox portrayed Mr. Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the wealthy father who mistakes love for buying everything his daughter wants. His calm privilege makes Veruca's world feel polished, expensive, and doomed. Born William Fox on May 19, 1939, in London, England, he came from the Fox acting family, the son of theatrical agent Robin Fox and actress Angela Worthington. He was 66 when the film reached audiences in 2005. By then, Fox carried a career that had already included stardom, retreat, and return. The role did not need grand emotion. It needed an actor who understood how entitlement can look gentle on the surface. Earlier, Fox stepped away from acting after Performance, and later rebuilt his screen life through A Passage to India, The Remains of the Day, and Patriot Games. His later years became a quieter chapter of persistence, family legacy, and character work. In 2026, he is 86, turning 87 on May 19th, still remembered as one of British cinema's elegant survivors. Deep Roy portrayed the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, giving one face and one body to an entire chorus of mysterious workers. They are memorable because each tiny movement turns the factory's punishments into a strange musical ritual. Born Mohinder Purba on January 26, 1949, in Nairobi, Kenya, to Indian parents, he studied accounting in London before moving into comedy, stunt work, puppetry, and screen acting. He was 56 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role placed an extraordinary physical burden on him because he performed the Oompa Loompas again and again, so effects could multiply him into a whole population. It turned a fantasy role into a feat of endurance, timing, and invisible labor. Afterward, Roy remained part of cult cinema history, appearing as Keenser in the Star Trek reboot films, after earlier work in The Never-Ending Story, Doctor Who, and Tim Burton's films. In 2026, he is 77, still celebrated for making small roles feel vast. Christopher Lee portrayed Dr. Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the severe dentist whose cold discipline shaped Willy Wonka's loneliness. His presence is unforgettable because one glance from him carries decades of authority, fear, and sorrow. Born Christopher Frank Carandini Lee On May 27, 1922, in Belgravia, London, England, he served in the Royal Air Force during World War II before building one of cinema's most commanding careers. He was 83 when the film reached audiences in 2005. At that age, the role asked him to compress an entire father-son wound into a few precise scenes. It also extended his late career renaissance with Tim Burton, Star Wars, and The Lord of the Rings. Lee's final decade brought a knighthood, BAFTA, and BFI fellowships, and an unlikely heavy metal chapter that made him legendary to a new generation. He died of heart failure at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in London on June 7, 2015, at age 93, leaving behind a shadow too large for one genre. Adam Godley portrayed Mr. TV in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the exhausted father beside a boy raised by screens, speed, and noise. His nervous stillness makes Mike TV's world feel modern, brittle, and painfully familiar. Born Adam Godley on July 22, 1964, in Amersham, England, he grew up near Watford and began acting as a child before moving between British theatre, film, and television. He was 41 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role came when Godley was already respected on stage, but screen fame still arrived in smaller flashes. Playing Mr. TV let him bring theatrical precision into a fantasy film without overpowering the child at the center. Later, he earned Tony nominations for Anything Goes and the Lehman Trilogy, while reaching wider audiences through Breaking Bad, Suits, The Umbrella Academy, The Great, and Succession. In 2026, he is 61, still moving between prestige theater and vivid screen character work. Franziska Trogner portrayed Mrs. Gloop in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the anxious mother swept along by Augustus's unstoppable appetite. She is memorable because her worried face turns comic punishment into a mother's helpless panic. Born Franziska Trogner on July 18, 1954, in East Berlin, East Germany, she was the daughter of performers and trained at the Berliner Ensemble after early cabaret work. She was 50 when the film premiered in 2005, turning 51 only days later. For a German stage actress shaped by Brecht, the role meant entering a huge English-language fantasy where broad comedy had to survive visual effects. It introduced her to a global audience without erasing her theater roots. Her later story is one of endurance. She published autobiographical books, continued stage and screen work, and remained active in German theater, radio plays, and character roles. In 2026, she is 71, still living as a respected German actress. AnnaSophia Robb portrayed Violet Beauregard in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the gum-chewing champion whose confidence turns into a strange blue warning. Her Violet is memorable because she makes childhood ambition look bright, funny, and dangerous. Born AnnaSophia Robb on December 8, 1993, in Denver, Colorado, she was the only child of Janet and David Robb and began acting after commercials and early television work. She was 12 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role arrived in the same year as Because of Winn-Dixie, putting sudden pressure on a young performer seen in two major films. It also gave her a sharp comic identity before deeper coming-of-age roles. Robb later carried Bridge to Terabithia, portrayed Bethany Hamilton in Soul Surfer, led the Carrie Diaries, and built adult credits in The Act, Dr. Death, Rebel Ridge, and Grosse Pointe. She graduated from New York University and married Trevor Paul in 2022. In 2026, she is 32 years old. Julia Winter portrayed Veruca Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the spoiled golden ticket child who believes every wish should be delivered instantly. Her Veruca is memorable because she turns sweetness, privilege, and cruelty into one polished little demand. Born Julia Winter on March 17, 1993, in Stockholm, Sweden, she grew up in London and had limited youth theater experience before being cast. She was 12 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role placed a young, little-known actress inside Tim Burton's massive production, surrounded by animals, choreography, and a character audiences could love hating. It became the screen image that followed her, even though she did not build a long public acting career from it. Winter's later life became quieter than the factory world that made her recognizable. Reports describe her stepping away from acting and focusing on studies. In 2026, she is 33, remembered for one vivid role and the choice to leave celebrity behind. Jordan Fry portrayed Mike TV in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the screen-obsessed boy who turns childhood impatience into digital chaos. His Mike is memorable because he feels like a warning from the future, loud, restless, and bored by wonder. Born Jordan Paul Fry on June 7, 1993, in Spokane, Washington, he appeared in school and church productions, did commercials, and entered film as a child actor. He was 12 when acting in the film in 2005. The role asked him to play arrogance and speed without losing the smallness beneath the joke. It gave him international recognition and led to voice work as Lewis in Disney's Meet the Robinsons. After early roles in Raising Flag, Gone, and other projects, Fry stepped back for a long period, making his return striking when he reappeared in Big Life and shorts including Painted Grief and Ditch Witch. His story carries the quiet cost of child fame, being frozen in one image, then choosing when to be seen again. In 2026, he is 32. Philip Wiegratz portrayed Augustus Gloop in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the first golden ticket child swallowed by the factory's punishment machine. His Augustus is memorable because he turns appetite into comedy, danger, and a child's sudden fear. Born Philip Wiegratz on February 17, 1993, in Magdeburg, Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, he entered acting after a casting call brought him to Tim Burton's film. He was 12 when the film reached audiences in 2005. The role was physically demanding, requiring costume work, comic timing, and scenes built around the Chocolate River. It became his English language breakthrough and his defining screen identity. Wiegratz later appeared in German projects, including the Wild Chicks films, Lore, and Ruby Red, but eventually stepped away after a brief career. Public updates describe him working in information technology, a quieter path after childhood fame. In 2026, he is 33, remembered for one of the film's most unforgettable falls. 2 decades later, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory feels less like a candy-colored fantasy and more like a time capsule of childhood, fame, and passing years. Johnny Depp moved through triumphs and controversy. Freddie Highmore grew into a respected adult actor, and legends like Christopher Lee, David Kelly, and Jeffrey Holder are now gone, leaving only their voices, faces, and strange magic behind. What do you remember most from this world of wonder and warning? The factory doors closed, but its shadows still glow.